morning, guys. Thursday morning. Going to be getting on the rear fenders as well as the final block or the block sanding of the remaining front fender. I can't touch this epoxy for another day or so. It's got to cure for at least a couple days, so you can't put anything on it. What else? I'll probably get on doing some stuff on the chassis as well, and the engine. So whatever, I'm just going to keep plugging away at it, and there's plenty to do, so let's get to her. Okay, so I had one of my viewers ask me about the guide coat. Didn't quite get what I was doing there. So anyway, this has got the guide coat on it. You can see how it's kind of a darker sort of blotchy gray. Well, it's darker than the primer from before I sprayed the guide coat, right? So when you're sanding it, you can see these blotches here. Okay, these are the same color as this. So these are low spots. So you keep sanding until these sort of disappear. And that's what the guide coat does. It's for contrast and to show you, it illustrates and shows you quite clearly where your low spots are. So, it's here, 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 etc., etc. So that's why the guide coat, because you really can't see that if you're just sanding it as a primer by itself. It just doesn't show up, right? It's all the same color. So with the contrast of the color from the guide coat, you can clearly see where your low spots are. So that's why I do it. Okay, so here's another problem that may pop up on you. You can see here, this is right down to the bare metal. So you stop sanding, you can't go any lower than bare metal. So we've got a high spot, high spot, high spot, and we've got a low spot here and here. So what happens is with these spots dented out this way, these are old farm trucks, and you're on dirt roads, pick up a stone in the tire treads, and then the stone would come off the tire and dent the fender outwards. The old vehicles didn't have inner fenders to protect the outer fenders like they do now. So I want to try to fix this without using filler. It's very, very small, but it's there. So I just got a dolly hammer. I'm just going to tap that down ever so slightly. It's not bad. Way better already. So then these, I'm going to tap up from the bottom, try to make it all flush. Better. Much better. I think just primer will fix that up. So there you go. Okay, well the second one is done now, and now I gotta tell you, I guess this farmer was a bit of a blacksmith and used his truck fenders as a bench to pound out horseshoes or something. Man, a million little wee dings. Lots of sanding. So it took me a lot longer than it did to do the first one, that's for sure. So anyway, it's sanded and we're ready for another shot of primer. Good morning. So just finished shoveling my little pathway out to the shop, but the the banks are starting to get pretty freaking high, man. My poor old Mopar is looking pretty sad over there. And of course, I just finished, put the shovel down, and it starts to snow again. So, yeah. There's about 2.5 feet on the ground, I guess. Oh well, I'm ready for spring. Hey, so once again, good morning. It's Friday morning. After yesterday, after I was done spending several hours block sanding those front fenders, I figured I'd get a jump on the rear fenders, and so I did that. I dug one out and scuffed it up, and I'll show you what I have to work with shortly. The rear fenders are fiberglass. I'm not a big fan of fiberglass, especially something like a front fender where there's a whole bunch of things that fit to it, like, in this case, the grill, the hood, fitment on the body, the running boards. There's a lot of things involved because I've had horrible issues with fitment of fiberglass stuff. It all depends on the quality, I guess. But, rear fenders basically stand alone. They hang off the box, and the only thing that ties into them is the running boards. So not a big deal. So in this case, I don't mind using the fiberglass fenders for the rear. So yeah, I'll grab the camera and show you what I got. So there's the rear fenders. Now overall, they're in pretty good shape, and these are good heavy glass fenders. They're not cheapos. They're pretty solid sounding. I just went over it real quick with my little palm sander. It's a dual action, and it does a good job. So the issue I have with these is all these little marks here, like so. They're chips or whatever from storing them, moving them around, on and off a vehicle, being dropped, whatever. So there's all kinds of them. They've got to be filled. So that's one of the reasons why I scuffed it. And yeah, I'm going to get after it with some filler and sand these things down and get them ready for primer with the front fenders. So there we go. Okay, so mixing up a batch of putty here. Mix it all until it's all one uniform color. Okay, so instead of doing something like this, each individual spot, I like to cover, there's a whole group of them here. We're going to do them all at the same time. The reason you do that, if you do all these little spots individually, when you go to sand it, it's going to end up being wavy. It's going to be a bitch. When you got all of this done at the same time, you can feather the outside edge out, sand that down, and you end up with a much better result at the end. That's actually not bad right there. Okay, not bad, not bad. And once again, very thin coats. Crap in this. And it's starting to stiffen up, so I'll finish getting this on, and that's about it. Yeah, it's two-step already. So there you go. And I'll carry on with that. Okay, so this one came out really good, feels good, and quite pleased with it. So I'm calling it done, ready for primer. And yeah, we're going to do the exact same thing on this one. So because I just showed it to you, I'm not going to do it again. But once I'm done this one, then I'm going to turn my attention to the cab and start prepping that for primer as well. So yeah, moving right along, man. Just moving along. All right. Dusty. Yeah, so I finished off the second fender. I'll grab the camera and show you that in a minute, along with where I want to get to on the cab as far as prepping it for primer. So yeah, I'll just grab the camera and get after it. Don't mind me. So here's the two fenders, and yeah, they're ready for primer. Fair amount of work, you know, a lot of sanding, but not bad overall. I think they're pretty good. So we'll see for sure when we get a coat of primer on it. Of course, we don't have to epoxy these because they're fiberglass, and last time I checked, fiberglass does not rust. So what we want to do is get the cab set up for some stuff here. The cab set up for primer as well. That means scuffing all the epoxy. So according to manufacturer, you can spray right over top without doing anything with the primer. But I like to scuff it up a little bit, maybe with some 220. And just makes me feel better that there's going to be a good adhesion between the, between the epoxy and the primer. But first order of business will be to, if I can do this with one hand, there we go, clean up all the ashes from my great paper fire last week, and get this covered back up with paper. I am done welding now for sure, so no danger of another fire. And yeah, so we'll clean it all up and get on sanding the cab. As far as the cab goes, because I've eaten enough dust today, I'm going to wet sand it. So yeah, no biggie. I'll show you one small spot and then carry on from there. Okay, so because I'm a little tired of eating dust, I've been doing it all day, I'm gonna wet sand. So I've got my bucket of water. It's hot water with a couple drops of dish soap in it. The dish soap helps the paper from clogging up. Just going with 220 wet paper, and just do one little quick spot. There's not much to it. It's not rocket science. It's a little bit slower than other types of paper, I guess, but it does a nice job. Because you're going over the whole truck like that, you get to see all the things that you might not see if you just rub over it real quick with dry paper. And yeah, pretty simple stuff. You know, some places you have to lose the block and just get in there with your finger, like on these louvers and stuff like that. And when you get into some of these corners, but for the most part, try and use some sort of a backing block as much as you can. That way you're not going to be gouging into it or anything. So yeah, I've got a lot to do. I'll be doing this for a few hours. I'm not going to show you that because it's boring as hell. So yeah, fun wow. Okay, so there you go. You know, I said it before, sanding is not glorious work, but you know, if you don't sand it properly, you end up with a really shitty paint job. So you know, I'm going to be Pete and repeat. Let's say that. It seems like it's over and over and over again. Seems like it's never going to end, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're ready to spray. So yeah, that's cool. So when I finish wet sanding that whole thing, I'm going to wash it all down with wax and grease remover. Clean up in here a little bit, and I've got lots of stuff to prime. I've got the hood is ready for another coat. All 4 fenders are ready, and the cab complete. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of priming to do, and while I'm waiting for that to set up, you know, I'll get back on finish. I want to finish that damn exhaust and start putting all the engine bits together to fire that thing up, because we're not too far away from putting the cab back on for good. You know, once it's painted, that's what's happening. It's going to go back on there for the last time, and that's it. So I want to fire it up before I put the cab on, you know, just in case you have a carb fire or something like that and you end up wrecking the paint job. That would really suck. So yeah, I want to fire it up with the cab off the frame. So I'm going to be hopping back and forth between block sanding on the stuff that I've got primed and getting this thing closer and closer to you know, to firing it up. So yeah, all good. What else? Yeah, it's starting to warm up, and I think we're done with all the cold weather for till next year, hopefully. Wishful thinking, maybe. You know, we're gonna get some snowstorms. We always get a big one in March usually, but hey, spring is around the corner, man. You know, baseball guys are getting ready to spring training at the end in another couple of weeks. So yeah, it's coming, and they already had the boat show in Toronto. So right on, bring it on, man. I'm ready. New subscribers, thank you very much. Another good batch, and you know, I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have, tell a buddy and help spread the word. And don't be shy, leave comments down below. I enjoy the comments. They seem to be coming in more and more lately. You know, there's some good questions, and guys are, you know, asking things, making sure they got it clear before they go ahead and tackle it. There's an awful lot of guys doing these doing a project like this, you know, this year of truck or this style of truck, and they're kind of into it. They ask a lot of good questions. So right on, I like that. And man, if you're not doing anything else, get out in the garage and build something, man. Later, guys.